It's John Gonzalez. And John, this was all about the Spider Show in the second half. 43 points in total, 39 of them coming in the second half. Where did you see the biggest difference in his play that allowed him to just take advantage of whatever the Pistons were throwing at him?
Yeah, he was certainly more aggressive in the second half, right? I mean, he didn't score in this game, Chris, until, what, 4 minutes left in the second quarter, and you're thinking, man, it's really not Donovan Mitchell's night, and if it's not Donovan Mitchell's night, it might not be the Cavs' night. James Harden kind of kept them afloat in the first half, and then in the second half, as you mentioned, he scores 39 of his 43 points in the second half, tied for the most second half points in NBA history. It's 3 straight 30-point games for Donovan Mitchell, and it couldn't have come at a better time, right? I mean, he really buoyed the Cavs in that second half where they come out in the third quarter. They go on that 23-0 run to start the second half. That's the largest postseason run in Cavs history. They end up winning the quarter by 17 points, and from there, they take off. And yes, you know, it got a little bit tighter in the fourth quarter than they probably wanted. As you and I were talking about, Kenny Atkinson probably went to victory formation a little too soon, had to go and put the starters back in, but that's how Donovan Mitchell ends up tying the record. So huge night from him. And we should also mention big night from James Harden, because pregame we talked about, well, what kind of James Harden are the Cavs going to get? And I said, I don't know, because nobody ever knows with James Harden. Sometimes you get good James Harden, sometimes you get bad James Harden. Well, tonight they didn't get good James Harden. They got phenomenal James Harden tonight. 24 and 11 assists and only 2 turnovers. Their 2 best guards, that backcourt, they won the day.
What impressed you the most, though, about the way James Harden played? Was it, you know, his scoring ability? Because he was 5 of 14 from the field. He did get to the line, and he was very efficient there. Or was it the way he was able to play make for his other Cavaliers teammates?
It was the efficiency, it was the playmaking, but it was also limiting the turnovers, because sometimes James Harden gets in his head a little bit, and when he's not playing well, he can be susceptible to turnovers, and the Pistons love to turn you over, and they love to play good defense, and they love to hound you, and they've got the guys to do it. Tonight, though, Asar Thompson, not a great night from him. James Harden definitely got the better, and Donovan Mitchell definitely got the better of the Pistons defense. And look, James Harden, we have all been critical of James Harden in the postseason because he has been so inconsistent. But on a night when you needed that backcourt to absolutely shine, to tie up this series, because the Cavaliers have been much, much better at home in these playoffs than they've been on the road. They've won all their home games and none of their road games. So they needed to tie this series up before going back to Detroit to keep it a series. And not only Donovan Mitchell scoring the ball, but James Harden, as you mentioned, setting up his teammates and taking care of the ball. Credit where it's due. Those 2 guys, and especially James Harden, limiting those turnovers, were fantastic tonight.
Yeah, and we'll get to, you know, their road-home splits right in the postseason in a bit. But let's go back to that 23-0 run, because it reminded me of what we saw for the Pistons, right, against the Magic when they had their lives on the line, right, playoff lives on the line. And the Cavaliers just said, listen, we're going to blitz you, and you're not going to be able to stop us, and then we're going to get you out of your comfort zone. What did you see from the Cavaliers that made them such a juggernaut in that period, John?
Yeah, well, Donovan Mitchell obviously started out super hot. James Harden again running the offense. Evan Mobley's another guy that I was critical of earlier in the series. And in game 2, when he had just 1 rebound, we were on with John Henson earlier, and I asked John, how is it possible for Evan Mobley, who's nearly 7 feet tall or around there, to only get 1 rebound? And John just sort of laughed it off. Well, he was really good in game 3, and he was spectacular tonight in game 4 and in that third period. While Donovan Mitchell was doing all the scoring, James Harden was setting guys up, Evan Mobley was just doing a little bit of everything, right? 17 points tonight, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and defensively, last year's Defensive Player of the Year award, right? That's where he really influenced the game tonight, where he goes for 3 steals and 5 blocks. That is a man's supreme effort in a game where, as you mentioned, backs against the wall. They lose this game, they go down 3-1, you're going back to Detroit, probably cooked. Instead, I've been long saying that you need 3 of your 4 best guys, if you're the Cavs, to have a big game generally for these guys to win. Well, tonight, Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Evan Mobley, they all showed up.
Yeah, they definitely rose to the occasion. All right, so the fact that the Cavaliers, they have not won, right, a road playoff game, yet they've won all of their home games. How important is it for the Pistons to get this game 5 going forward, knowing how the Cavaliers play away from home?
Yeah, it's huge, right? Because before this series shifted to Cleveland, the Pistons were on a little bit of a roll, going back to the Magic series, and then through the beginning of this series, they had won 5 in a row. You go to Cleveland, that streak gets snapped. The Cavs do what the Cavs do, which is win at home. So yeah, the Pistons absolutely want to regain a little bit of momentum and go ahead 3-2 before this series goes to Game 6. But they all have to be better, right? Tonight was not their night. Cade Cunningham has been spectacular this postseason. This was probably his least influential, not probably, almost certainly his least influential game, where he was just sort of out there going through the motions. He wasn't influencing the game. He had 5 turnovers. Again, turnovers have been a huge issue, not just for him, but for the Pistons writ large. He has 5 turnovers. Asar Thompson has 4 turnovers. Jalen Duren, who was invisible / awful tonight, so much so that they had to go to Paul Reed. He also had 4 turnovers. And so as a team, they have 20 turnovers leading to 25 points. That's just too much and giving the Cavs too much of an advantage. So I don't even know what they do about Jalen Duren. I mean, he has been, with the exception of 1 or 2 games during this postseason, he has not been the guy who took the step and took the leap during the regular season. So, you're going to need more from Cade Cunningham. I'm going to put Jalen Duren to the side. Tobias Harris, tonight wasn't his fault, but he snaps a streak of 8 straight games of 20 or more points. He's been really good in the postseason. You're going to need him to step up again. Asar Thompson needs to be better. He's usually Mr. Do Everything. He was Mr. Kind of Do Nothing tonight. Duncan Robinson could not hit a 3-pointer. Only made 1 tonight, which is not going to get it done. So great that they got 24 points from Karis LeVert, and Paul Reed stepped forward because, again, Jalen Duren was terrible. But that starting cast has to be much, much better going back to Detroit.
Yeah, hopefully for their sake, their crowd can energize them where they give a much more spirited effort, unlike what we saw against the Cavaliers in this game. John Gonzalez, always appreciate talking hoops with you, man. Take care. So, Donovan Mitchell almost outscored the Pistons team in the second half. He scored 39 points. Detroit, as a team, 47. And again, Mitchell, with those 39 points in the second half, tied for the most points in a playoff half in NBA history with Sleepy Floyd.
Pistons and the Cavs. The Cavs at home can either tie it up or be sent back to Detroit, just 1 game away from elimination. And over in the West, history not on the side of the Lakers in this one, as they are now in a 3-game deficit to Thunder. No team in NBA history has ever successfully come back from that to win a series. In fact, the record is 161-0. Let's welcome back in Ashley Nicole Moss and John Henson here. We're going to go through both of these games here. Let's start with the one that's a little bit closer between the Pistons and the Cavs. Now, this past game with the Cavs, we saw James Harden step up.
Yeah, we
saw them make a lot of little adjustments. They were able to shut down Cade Cunningham for the most point. Was it a desperation, or did we actually see a momentum shift with this team?
I wouldn't say a momentum shift. I still think the Pistons are going to take this series. I have the series hopefully going the distance because my Knicks would appreciate the rest. But I think that the biggest tale about this story was turnovers and lack thereof. I think James Harden had a much better fourth quarter. You think about it, 9 of his 19 points came in the fourth. Just 3 turnovers, which has been a drastically different story for James Harden this postseason specifically. Jared Allen decided to get in on some of the fun as well. He had some big moments. Donovan Mitchell, 35 points for him. And Cade Cunningham, it was a drastically different story. Although he had a triple-double, he had 8 turnovers, 3 of those turnovers in 30 seconds in the fourth quarter. So when you're playing against a team that can score quick, can score in transition, you have to maintain ball security. That is what James Harden has been doing wrong most of the postseason and at the wrong time. This time, it was Cade Cunningham who was the victim of the turnover. For me, that was the biggest part of the difference in both of these teams. I just don't know if I trust the Cavs to continuously play like this, and that's why I'm still leaning towards the Detroit Pistons. I think Cade Cunningham, when you look at both of these teams, he's the best player in this series by far.
Yeah, I think the Cavs didn't necessarily steal the momentum, but, SGA said it perfectly last week, and I quote, "The way basketball works, usually the more physical team and the team that imposes their will more just wins." That's what the Cavs did. Mobley and Allen were getting on that rim. Donovan Mitchell had 10 rebounds. Mobley had 8 rebounds after that weird 1-rebound game, which he's never done when he's played over 30 minutes. Cavs won the free throw almost 30 times. Then Harden goes vintage and close out the Pistons with a dagger 3. So this is how you win a playoff game. Cavs are the highest payroll in the NBA. Carpet defensively and rebounding is how you're going to win these kind of just in the mud matchups, right? And the Cavs did that. So I think they need to kind of focus on that aspect of their game, lean into it if they finally want to advance past the second round of East Conference playoffs. Because if they do not and they can't beat the Pistons, which I'm with Ashley here, I think the Pistons are going to take this series. They're going to have to blow it up. There's too much money on the books for them not to be at least in contention to win the championship.
John, Ashley kind of mentioned in Game 3 that it was the turnover battle that was kind of crucial. So if you're looking at both of these teams and they're analyzing each other and they're like, all right, the Cavs made these adjustments for Game 3. We're going to make these for Game 4 if you're the Pistons. If you're looking at each team and you're coming to the chessboard, what adjustments are going to make the difference in this one?
Well, I think the Cavs dodged a bullet. They gave up 17 offensive rebounds for only 19 second chance points. That's not going to happen again. And if it does, the game will probably not be in the Cavs' favors. And also, you know, they've just got to keep playing well on the defensive end and just understand, as I've said before, lean into it. So if I'm the Cavs, I need to make Detroit a one-shot offense, similar to what the Magic did, and almost beat them in 7. And on the Pistons side, turnovers doomed you. Cavs had 27 points off 15 turnovers. So not only are you turning over, but their live ball turnovers leading to easy buckets. That's how they lost, plain and simple. Cade had half of those to boot, so he's got to be better. So cutting down the turnovers, especially the ones that lead to fast breaks and don't allow you to get your defense set, is going to be priority number 1 for the Pistons going in tonight. They should have won Game 3, in my opinion. I think if things go the same way, the Pistons are coming on top in Game 4.
Yeah, I think, first of all, I agree about the turnovers in Detroit. That's a killer for any team, any situation, especially a closely contested one like we saw between the Cavs and the Pistons last game. For me, with the Cavs, the biggest thing is just maintaining that you get that version of James Harden. You didn't bring him here to not be that in the postseason. The regular season is great. We love what we saw in the regular season. Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, they clicked right away immediately. That means nothing if you can't do it when it counts. And that's going to be the biggest question mark because, unfortunately, James Harden's reputation precedes him. And it's not if he can do it, it's can he do it consistently. That's always been the biggest question about him.
I feel like James Harden, it's like you have a magic 8-ball, and you're like, will James Harden play well tonight? Will he do well at the end of the fourth?
No, it really is.
And that's seriously what it is. It's a question mark. So let me ask you this, because you did say that you would like this series to go the distance. Don't know if we're going to. The Cavs are favored by 3.5 at home tonight. Who do you have winning tonight?
I actually think the Cavs are going to tie this series up. I think that, you know, you tend to get better performances from role players at home. I think that Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, the Cavs as a whole, they're kind of feeling themselves a bit. Sometimes all it takes is one to give you a new pep in your step, a new, vibe in the locker room to bring that momentum into the next game. I said it was going to go 7. I think it will maintain. I'm going to maintain that prediction that it's going to go 7. I still have Detroit winning it. I think that physicality, and with Cade Cunningham being the best player in the series, I think that the better team will always win in 7. And for me, the better team is Detroit.
Yeah, I'm going to go for this game, Pistons. Pistons got rebounds, only 19 second chance points. They shot the ball 16 more times. The Pistons actually outscored the Cavs in the second half by 9 points. I don't see that repeating if they get that many rebounds and turnovers. And the turnover margin was essentially the same, but the Cavs were +8 in points off turnovers. Therein lies your game right there. I think Cade Cunningham cleans up the turnovers, and the Pistons take this one.
When you're up 2-1, it is incredible how much a win or loss can change that series. All right, that is the earlier game, even though for us on the East Coast, it's still a little later at 8 Eastern. At 10:30 Eastern, we have the Thunder and the Lakers. The Thunder are up 3-0. The Lakers are a double-digit home dog